Here, an old man is sitting on a plank with his bag, a stick, and a container next to him. His stark white shirt and beard will help in bringing out his character in a few pencil strokes, starting with his head and grey touches adding to the middle tone. A rough idea of proportion and setting can be made. If the posture is caught brilliantly in lines, then no detailing is required. The essence of the surroundings will automatically crop up. There are myriad visual elements like line, form, contour, etc. And the use may vary from one artist to another. What matters is the perception of the image. Looking at the present sketch, one can make out the form of an old man, folds of his clothes, the plank on which he is sitting, and even his dark complexion. There is just light tone and middle tone being reflected in the sketch till now. By the pencil being used in a flat way devoid of much details. Now is the time to add darkest, sharp strokes to bring out the depth and highlight a few parts. The line, rhythm, darkness, pressure on pencil tip all contribute in creating a meaningful entity, which we call image or sketch. Use the tip of pencil to create the darkness in the folds of the clothes, dimension of the bag, and darkness of the arm. To highlight or bring forward the head of the old man, it's very important to darkness the background with a few scribbles. The scribbling is adding gravity to the ambience. Darken the area of the eyes, nostrils, and some shaded parts of the beard. And chest, extending the dark lines further to end of sleeves and forearm. Only observation and instinct will lead the way in sketching. The light, the grey, and the dark strokes collectively suggest a direction, sequence, and thrust. The strokes and shading merged together communicate rhythmically, is forming a simple twine. A few more lines will add folds to the dhoti, and the boldness of stroke will indicate the shaded part. One can feel the linear energy by bringing out the details with the sharp tip of the pencil. The sketch takes the shape of disciplined scribbles. The thick dots can imply the deep eyes, and slightly smaller dots can indicate the nuts and bolts on the plank on which the old man is sitting. The dealing with the pencil, light or bold, help in reflecting if the object being drawn is soft or hard. It is rightly said that lion is perhaps the most expressive of the visual element. Why? Because the outline of the things are crucial keys to their identity. Because line leads the viewer's eye, implying movement and direction. Because line, for some inscrutable reason, symbolizes thought. In the second sketch, I am going to draw this leisurely sitting man in his rickshaw. He is a young man, so minimum lines on his face will reflect his youth and smoothness of the skin. The initial stage of the sketch and flat strokes without any details is like the process of looking at the object with blurred eyes, where one can only see the light and the dark areas. Before bringing out any details, it is very important to catch the exact posture of the model to bring out the mood in the sketch. The impulse, awareness of the lines, and inner directed eyes will lead the way. One can learn to focus on visual element with practice, and then the mind helps in forming a complete image even with minimal approach in the sketch. Line will suggest the direction or orientation. Stressed arm widely placed turned legs, and folded arms close to the head clearly reflect the attitude which has been successfully caught in the sketch. Horizontal line add to the shade of the rickshaw, perfectly balancing the composition. Few lines behind the stretched arm on the seat and curves under the seat for embellishment. A rough shape of the shoes indicating their placement. The shade of the rickshaw all help in finishing the composition by eliminating the details not needed and bringing out the apt's essence and moved by minimal element approach. One look at the sketch and one can make out the resemblance to the model sitting in front. Broken, flowing, curved, connecting, all types of lines help in making a precise sketch despite the ambiguity. Start shading and applying dark strokes in the shaded area. The direction of strokes reflect the angle of the object. Shaded thighs and darkness in folded of the pants will define the shape of the legs. A stark contrast of black against the white help in creating a contrast and highlights. Darken the hair, eyes, mustache, under the chin, neck and collar for highlighting the facial features. Draw sharp line over the raised shoulder and by few random scribbles bring the sketch to completion. Third sketch is of a man standing next to his rickshaw, holding handle in one hand and piece of cloth in the other. Starting from the head, eyes, chin and the clothes and body, start applying the strokes using the pencil in flat way. Blur your eyes and again just focus on the dark areas. The major part is to observe the posture. For example, this man has his right shoulder bent downwards. This observation only helps in creating perspective and dimensions. Darkening of arms and shade over the pants will create a contrast with the whiteness of the shirt. The gentleness or abruptness of modeling can create emotional responses. The source of illumination from above or below affects our feelings. The distinctness or indistinctness of shapes can be controlled by light and dark manipulation. Some shadows seem empty or opaque, others look luminous and full of life. Some invite closer inspection or direct us back to light. Time to draw line and dimensions of rickshaw to support the extended arm. Look at the placement of vertical and horizontal line of the structure in comparison to the body of the model. Right stroke at the right place will only bring out the best composition. Automatically, an illusion of distance between the model and rickshaw will crop up. The perspective will help in increasing our visual alertness. Tiny additions like tassels over the shade of rickshaw will add a beauty of rural setup. Add dark strokes to the eyes, mustache, creases of shirt, folding of hands. These dark patterns of strokes will ultimately help in shaping of the light and bringing the sketch toward completion by minimum strokes, somewhere gentle and somewhere blunt. Another sketch is of man sitting on his toes and working on the wheel of the rickshaw. Again, starting with the head, darkening the shaded area and leading the line to form an image and movement perceived by the mind. Pupils see images and not things. light sensation falling on the retina area, carried as energy impulses to the brain, where they are almost simultaneously translated into a meaningful entity called an image. Not that there is a picture, an optical projection in the brain. Optical processes are in the eye alone. Perception is a function of the brain, body, and mind. Because of that mind connection, we cannot experience sensation without characterizing them. The wheel, the movement, the projection of the rickshaw in flat strokes are devoid of any detailing. Yet catching the perfect composition as perceived by the mind with apt usage of visual elements. An image, therefore, can be defined as the result of endowing optical sensation with meaning. Bone structure of every man is different from another. Some have round face, some have oval and have very bony features. The characters will come out only if one observes these details along with the headdresses, clothings, and postures. This sketch is of a thin man sitting on the rickshaw with dangling leg and a cloth tied on his head. The stooping of the shoulder because of one hand holding the handle and the other arm hanging is very important to notice while sketching this man. Keep on drawing the folds and side by side making the strokes dark as per the need of the shadows being created by the folds of the cloths. The folds will automatically reflect the impression of underlying structure. The line of rickshaw and angles its dimension are creating in relation to the model. Highlight the gap between the seat of passenger and the rickshaw puller. The darkened handle next to the thigh of the model, one leg folded and the second one hanging on the pedal, is raising the body of the model over the seat. The play of scribbles, gentleness and abruptness of strokes, spontaneity and instinct all play an insignificant role in instant sketching. Sketching is very important to learn the responses of line, strokes, dimensions, perspective, silhouettes, elements of minimalism, etc. It is not important to make someone pose to draw his sketch. One can draw anyone sitting and involved in his own activity if one finds his pose interesting. This sketch is of a man sitting sideways and smoking. What matters is to catch his pose in intermingled spontaneous lines. One leg over the other is reflecting a relaxed pose. The darkness on hair, features and neck and in the fold of cloths reflect the linear energy. Here in the background, unlike the previous sketch, instead of rickshaw, there is another man sitting. Two men posed together adds a story to the sketch. Gradually, the number is increasing. It totally depends on the artist what details he wants to keep and what he wants to eliminate. The shaded wall, the wooden bench on which they are sitting, form a connection between different elements. Which Muni said, drawing is not a way to come up with pictures. Drawing is way to educate your eye to understand visual information, organizing it into a more hierarchical way, a more economical way. When you see something, if you draw often and frequently, you examine a room very differently. Pupil may seem familiar in setting and surroundings, but sketching catches a myriad characteristic of a personality and posture in a few rapid and rhythmic lines. What matters is to train your eye at the end mind. It is a process of polishing your instincts and observation in simplicity. Like John Berger said, drawing is a way of coming upon the connection between things, just like metaphor in poetry reconnects what has become separated.